I mean, a lot of teams will be banning out the Weaver first phase against Hokori for this very reason. And every single time Hokori typically responds with Rubik, they just grab it for themselves. It's El Misho's like pretty much go-to hero when the Weaver is not available, and we've just seen El Misho so far in this tournament absolutely ball out on these guys. But now he's back on the Weaver. It's a super strong hero for a lot of reasons. We see it banned. I guess we'll like let his performance do the talking as we see later in game. But the Enchantress Storm, like you said, they have the kill hero here from the Storm Spirit. The Enchantress just a really strong lane hero generally in the early phase as well. So hopefully it works out for Arkosh. Otherwise, I don't know. I kind of like the Mars Weaver lane a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it just works, right? You throw the bugs out, your rebuke suddenly does another additional 200 damage. The Enchantress becomes a huge target, and I think that's really going to be important for Arkosh in Pale Horse's hero. How do they get a lot of pressure off of the Ench? Ench, as good a hero as it is when it comes to putting on creep pressure on your heroes, if you just leapfrog over that and immediately go for her, doesn't have very many defensive tools. That's why sometimes we see the Enchantress avoid getting the enchant and just get the E level one, the Nature's Attendant, so that way you can actually win some of those early trades. Unfortunately, there's just going to be a lot of bursts coming from this Mars. It's why the Weaver works so perfectly with it. And we'll have to see Arkosh very early on establish dominant sentry control because every single time Hokori pick this Weaver, they always get the leg up on their opponents in lane. And the sentry really is the battle you need to win because that's where you make the play where he goes for the range creep. You immediately start right clicking him. It's how we've seen Weaver punished by every single other team. But with Hokori, they just always secure that aspect.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they are doing a pretty good job at also protecting him right now. They get rid of the Bloodseeker, something that is super annoying to deal with. Arkosh, on the other hand, are removing the storm counters, right? Like we see the Lina, we see the Invoker, and we see the Leshrac. Heroes that they just want to avoid having to deal with this game. They want to try and make Storm a little bit stronger in the laning phase, and they do end up going back for the Spirit Breaker here. And they will grab the Rubik as a response. I mean, this is a really good Rubik game, but it is going to be Pale Horse on the Spirit Breaker.
Yeah, I don't. That's not a monkey's hero. I think it is just going to be the Pale Horse Spirit Breaker running it back again. And of course, at the same time, Hokori, they lead, of course, with second pick. They keep on getting this Disruptor pickup in that second phase. It's so easy for them to always slot it in that role. And then they go for the Queen of Pain counter pick in
Yikes.
the mid lane. Okay, you're kind of playing up the Spirit Breaker now. That's a mid hero that you can actually kill with this SB. But I gotta see this SB work. At least you do have that big buff safe laner that is going to stand in front of the Enchantress. It's going to try and take a lot of that attention away from her. But they've got to win that lane. They've got to win, I think, a lot of their lanes because now with this counter pick in the mid lane, Jamari is just going to be able to walk all on top of Canis Vulpes. And Canis Vulpes, he's just got to do a really good job of kind of covering his bases here because otherwise, I think we've seen Queen of Pain's ball out of control before. And I mean, he's one of the best in the game. Jamari is going to be able to make those easy rotations. Not to mention, even though this Rubik pick is fantastic, you're playing versus Mars Weaver, you'd love either of those spells. You are a pretty fragile target for this Queen of Pain to just dogpile on, especially before level 6, where this Rubik is going to be at its weakest.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious to see how they end up rounding out this draft. They're going to ban out the Drow Ranger here. It's super strong counter into the Spirit Breaker. You do have to remove it. Like you see Spirit Breaker coming in and you just gust him and kill him. It is so miserable. So you do have to deal with that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be Monkey's hero here in the off lane. The Tidehunter already banned his Bloodseeker already banned, some of his best. Actually ban out the Life Stealer just in case, which is a little bit interesting.
Yeah, I think it's that same style where they want to try and cover that hero as much as they can. Can I really see this being a Monkeys Forever Spirit Breaker and they're trying to go for some cheeky Pale Horse hero? Honestly, I would love if they pick Jug, but I don't think they're going to do that. Okay, they pick TB. Okay, they flipped the script a little bit here. I mean, TB is the only hero they have a win on so far. I think in this tournament, it's one of the few wins they've been able to get versus a lot of these teams. But okay, the timeline has swapped a little bit for Arkosh. They're going to be looking for that later game. And what do Hokori want to do now? They did a really good job with their last two bans here. And I think both of these teams were feeling like if they were going to win, it couldn't be the Pale Horse Spirit Breaker again, because I don't think they were able to do very much versus two base in their series where they went for it twice. But now, what do you do on Hokori? They
And
can't pick Medusa. They can't go for the Luna.
And Pale Horse is a pretty dang good Terrorblade player. And
Yeah.
yeah, the Leshrac was already banned as well. I mean, starting to feel like Arkosh had planned this from quite a bit earlier in the draft. I mean, those last three bans make a lot of sense now.
Ursa? Naga.
Okay, Naga Siren's actually pretty good, but I think this is more of just a lane dominator against a Spirit Breaker. Like, this is such a miserable lane for the Spirit Breaker to play into.
Yeah, I mean, it's why you always have to be very scared of it. It just automatically wins your safe lane. There's nothing that Monkeys can do. Of course, he's going to try and be obnoxious. Of course, Spirit Breaker, it naturally has a lot of magic damage. He's able to put a lot of pressure early on. But once you hit basically level 4 on the Naga Siren, there's no pressure coming from him. It's where we need, again, in the theme with a lot of Arkosh drafts, Canis Vulpes is going to be our vanguard to get into a lot of these team fights. He's going to be a lot of our damage. It really is the end all be all for this lineup to actually work. And now we've got Pale Horse farming on the other side of the map, so it makes a little bit more sense whenever they were trying to run this Spear Breaker in the one position. But at the same time, you got to see Canis Vulpes just sprinting, because if he gets too far behind, that becomes a very, very difficult game, because that's where I think you're playing into the Vitali Blink Dagger timing, you're playing into the Orchid. All those items are coming out at a very similar timing for Hokori, and then at the same time, you have a Naga Siren farming, and you don't really deal with split push all too well. The only wave clear you have really is coming in from that Rubik, and if they just simply arena him, they're always going to look for those fragile targets.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of weight that's going to be on the Rubik here. He's got to be able to find some of these big spells to try and turn these fights around. And you always have to think, at what point is this Weaver's, Aghanim Scepter going to come out? And it is such a game-winning item. Like, every single time you see this Weaver pick up the eventual Aghanim Scepter, and suddenly fighting becomes, borderline impossible. You do have this Terrorblade, who is definitely the king of damage in this game, but he doesn't have an easy time against the Naga Siren.
No, it's a classic counter. It feels like once you get on top of him, of course, there's not much you can do. You don't really play well versus illusions. That's why they guarded this TB ban or TB pick with the ban on the PL. But now, what do you look for? I think Pale Horse is playing towards that timing later in the game. Unfortunately, everything praising about the SB being a possible carry in this game, now that attention can very likely get put onto Gremlo, and if the Enchantress does step a little bit too far forward, that's where this Mard's Weaver lane is just as strong as it was before, hypothetically, and now you can dump everything onto their Enchantress. Of course, you're going to force Pale Horse out of the lane, but as soon as that Ench gets put on the back foot, you don't have that easy transference of regen. It feels like you might see this TB make that earlier rotation onto the jungle, and that's where if you're playing on that same scale as the Naga Siren, you're already at a disadvantage.
Yikes. Canis Vulpes just places a ward there, and that's going to get scouted, of course.
Yep. Who's got the sentry, though? It's a Gardic?
Yeah,
Yep.
El Misho still has one, and trying to see. And Gardic does have one? Yeah. They might deny their own ward here, but we'll see what they end up doing on the side of Arkosh. They have to know that side is warded as well. I'm going to be surprised if Crow doesn't drop a sentry here fairly soon. We'll go ahead and block the easy camp here, but a lot of heroes here in the mid lane getting ready to go.
Yeah, and of course, Hokori are a little bit better at making this play. They do have the spear back, but at the same time, yeah, they just flood onto the ward. No chance for a deny. Maybe you could get something from Canis Vulpes, but doesn't want to eat any damage. And maybe they feel out this block small camp, but if they don't, again, they're just
Oh my
playing around
god,
the
El
fact that they
Misho.
can slow him down. Yeah, El Misho,
The
dude,
body
he's just
block.
too good.
Yeah, he just body blocks two heroes to get the rune. Very nice from him. So it's going to be 2 and 2 on the bounty runes there. Not only do they get the D ward mid, but they managed to go even on the runes. So overall, really well played there from Hokori. And we're going to head to the lanes here. Bottom lane is going to be this Mars Weaver lane. We were talking about this already, but you're going into Pale Horse on the Terrorblade. El Misho does need to be careful. That reflection damage is pretty strong. You don't get the minus armor from the Blightstone on the reflection, right?
I think you do.
I
But
thought you did
we'll have
too,
to
but
see.
I didn't see it apply there. So that's why I
Yeah,
was a little
when you
confused.
Yeah, when clicked on Amisho, it looks a little bit funky there, but at the same time, and Gremel unfortunately had to use his one sentry to defend his small camp. At the very least, he will be able to have those creeps spawning up in a few seconds here, and I think he's going to body block the large. Oh, no. Okay. But Amisho blocks it. Okay, nice. Now Gremel doesn't have a large camp. He's going to know that there's a sentry there, and unfortunately, Amisho's making him choose. Do you have the lane sentry to actually be able to trade versus the Weaver going for those range creep blast hits? or do you protect your camps? And unfortunately for Gremlo, he also got real unlucky. He would
Yeah.
have loved a ghost, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, he's now going to lose this early trade, and the wave is already pushing pretty hard into Vitali, who has already got level 2. So, uh-oh.
Yeah, the Foreman is a pretty unlucky creep to grab there. I mean, it does allow him to like be in and out of the lane very quickly, but doesn't help you trade against any of these other heroes. Speaking of trading, mid lane, Canis Vulpes is just really struggling on the Storm Spirit into the classic counter of the Queen of Pain. His bottle is coming out here in just a moment as he's going to be able to grab level 3, but it is always a rough time playing the Storm Spirit into a Queen of Pain.
Yep. The only way you can really pull it back is if you have those nifty level 3 Vortex plays where you pull the Queen of Pain into the creep wave. Of course, Storm naturally has just that little bit more armor. Other than that, though, it should just be a little bit of a farm fest. Of course, Jamar is going to go for the 2 points in the Shadow Strike because he is laning versus a Storm Spirit, meaning he doesn't have that real easy push out with the Scream of Pain, where in pretty bad Queen of Pain matchups, you always go for the max just so that way you can focus your attention pretty much solely on that small camp. But unfortunately, Ganswap is just going to get daggered over and over and over again, and that's where it's going to be even more important once supports are rotating for these runes. If he doesn't constantly get his bottle refilled, just doesn't have the gas in the tank. But there's the Zip, or the Vortex. It's those trades he needs to make consistently, though, because Jamari just gets it for free.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's doing pretty well in CS. I mean, he's 12-1. He's staying neck and neck with them. He got that salve delivered as well, so he's going to be topped off. Going for the bounty rune. Bottom lane, El Misho finally ends up going down this to Gremlo.
Yeah, he just got a little bit too low, I think, and maybe you could say a tactical death on Omisho's part. He was getting a little bit low on mana and HP there, and it's not like the courier was bringing anything out to him, but it's the small camp is still just such a sad affair for Gremlo. He wants to be playing more aggressively with his Terrorblade, of course, already used the meta a few minutes ago, but at the same time, it just feels like as soon as that attention gets brought onto one of the Arkosh laners, their lane doesn't really work all too well. Gremlo did establish that sentry control, but I'm still a little bit sad that they're not able to get anything in the lane for El Misha, because it really is the way that you counter his playstyle.
Yeah, absolutely. Top lane, Crow falling pretty low, but it looks like he's going to be fine here. Monkeys forever on this Spirit Breaker. We haven't talked about this lane at all yet, but a 3-position Spirit Breaker breaking trend of what we saw yesterday with Arkosh running this in the safe lane. And Monkeys gets to play the Space Cow, also known as Big Cow Fast for all you Moo fans out there.
Of course, of course. Unfortunately, Spirit Breaker is not Nature's Prophet, Batrider, or Brewmaster.
Ooh, that is a great creep for Gremlo to steal. Top lane, actually, a little bit of a trade. 1 for 1, but Monkeys, you can't fight up into this Nagasar. Now he just has to walk away. He is tanky, though.
Yeah, he's very tanky. The poke is definitely there, and of course he can't kind of choose to make that fight into it. The only reason that kill actually happens is because they have this vision of the Disruptor. They know they can get a little bit deeper in, and there was a pull coming off there from Gardic, but unfortunately he steps a little bit too far forward. They do end up trading out, but all that XP does end up going the Naga's way, and early XP is all that you're looking for on this hero, so you can make that easy rotation out of the lane.
Oh, nice play there from El Misho. Kind of baits Gremlo in a little bit too far, forcing him to TP back to base as Jamar is able to grab that power or the water rune. Kanswell was finally going to find the sentry that's been blocking his small camp just in time for the 5-minute spawn, so he's not too hindered.
Yeah, it's unfortunate you don't find it a little bit sooner, but he has honestly been able to do a pretty good job versus Jamari. Of course, the Queen of Pain is always going to lead, as the Spirit Bottom actually. Oh.
Hell Horse, yeah, ends up going down. He doesn't pop the Fairy Fire there.
Yeah. And at the same time, top 2, they just get the drag back. Not even the drag back, they just get the Kinetic Field. And Kinetic Field is one of the scariest spells, honestly, on this Disruptor hero, especially level 1. You don't think it's as good as it is, but effectively, it's a 2.6-second stun, and one where not even the Spirit Breaker can really get out in a lot of those positions, and giving a kill over to the Naga is just rough stuff in a lane that you're already so hard countered in.
Yeah, absolutely. Crow doing a nice job of keeping the lane frozen here. Doesn't want to push that one out from the tower and give some of this gold back on over to Monkeys. I mean, once you do have... I mean, I'm curious to see what Monkeys builds here. I feel like the natural progression a lot of times you see out of Spirit Breakers is to try and just get to that Aghanim Scepter as fast as possible, especially off of a core Spirit Breaker from the offlane, but It is pretty good against the Naga Siren as far as identifying which one is real, but you are also against a disruptor, which makes it that much more difficult.
Yeah, and unfortunately for really all of the Arkosh members, BKB is going to be in their repertoire. You have to go for that item. Will Monkeys forever. I think he's got to get the Soul Ring just because he has the double gauntlet, as well as that hero having pretty inherent mana problems. But you see him already queuing up the Echo Saber, which is the item you have to go for. It's either going to be Echo Saber BKB or Echo Saber Ags, and depending on how this game is going, I think that's really the only decision he has to make. Unfortunately, you are Spirit Breaker. Getting these items is not very easy for you until you have pretty much your entire kit maxed out, because the creep waves are just simply too tanky for you. Once you get to that point, though, pushing out weak creep waves are great whenever you can just bulldoze into them and get the waves. Unfortunately, that means you're taking farm away from your other two cores and something that their lineup isn't really balanced around.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like Pale Horse has opted to just retreat to the jungle, which is pretty much standard Terrorblade once you get to level 5. Like, you just have the 2 points in the Conjure Image. Sometimes you have the 3rd point, but yeah, he just wants to kind of pick up some solo XP, solo farm, leave Gremlo bottom. And especially now that Mars is level 6, you just have so much kill threat here against the Terrorblade. 7 minutes, 30 seconds into the game. A slight gold advantage for Hokori, but the gold distribution is pretty interesting. You have the entirety of Arkosh there in the middle, and there's the arena that finally comes out bottom lane onto the Enchantress. She just gets absolutely clapped by Vitaly, and you knew that was coming. It's just a matter of time. That first arena is gonna net you a kill here. It is just such a good Mars game.
Yeah, and not just that, Vitaly is going for the armlet, so he really could care less about making those more breakneck kind of rotations over to the mid lane where you have to kind of go for those when you have the phase.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, Jamari, and is he gonna kill Gremlo too?
It's close. He gets the salve off. There's a charge coming through.
Oh, no.
He does. Oh no. I thought Canis Vulpes dodged the Sonic Scream, but the Sonic Wave, but he didn't. And then the Sonic Wave followed him across the lane. Oh my goodness, that is so unlucky for him.
I mean, you gotta go for the big plays, right? But now 1,000 net worth ahead on Jamari. That is just horrible, and we'll get his build up too. He is completely greeted out for this Orchid,
No
and you
boots.
look at Vulpes.
Wow.
Okay, you do have that easy TP rotation. Got the armlet.
He's in trouble still. He's gonna be fine here. Vitaly gonna go down here. The question is, can they find more El Misho? Gonna be fine.
Yeah. There you go. That's your rotation, though. Canis Vulpes needs to keep on finding nice, tight little plays like that. Unfortunately, without the Orchid,
Monkeys is here.
Ever rotate there, but yeah, Monkeys. Of course, he was charging mid before whenever the cleanup game was
El
that
Misho.
low.
You're realizing the sentry is there. Kind of regrets that one. He's getting pinged. Like, Monkeys wants to go for the charge into the Nether Strike. He just got a Nether Strike from the outside of vision. He doesn't get it.
Yeah, and that's where you don't have really those sentry ward combos in lane versus the Weaver, and of course El Misho kind of spoils the play there, and that's where, unfortunately for Monkeys, I think he's going to take up a home down here, and Vitaly, yeah, doesn't want to arena the SB. He's not the target. If he can get these early stadium wins versus both the Rubik and the Enchantress, that's how he gets his farm in this game, and then you're really going to see this Mars start to snowball out of control. They're going to do a good job of defending this tower, because yet again, you do have that Fade Bolt to nuke out the waves. It's very obnoxious to play versus those wave clear heroes, but we'll have to see. Is this going to be enough? I almost feel like they need Jamari down here to actually kill off these two heroes, but they're very surely getting this tower damage in.
It's a really nice wave pull by Monkeys, just making sure that these creeps are so far away from these enemy heroes so he can just farm them in safety. But charge through comes out from Monkeys. They have the Nether Strike onto the Mars. The question is, do they have follow-up damage? Canis Vulpes comes in. They able to take down the Weaver so dang fast. The Vortex to follow, and 2 quick kills for Canis Vulpes on the Storm. That is the recovery you need on the Storm to keep yourself in this game. As Mari, he's down here, his Orchid about to be delivered, but they saw him with this ward. They know the Queen of Pain is here. They should not get caught.
Oh, they want to kill him.
Monkeys, he's going for the charge. Mari
Yeah,
is out.
No way that works, but at the same time, that is just incredibly important. It's why I thought Jamari was almost planning to come to that bottom lane a little bit sooner, because they did have that arena, but it's those TP reactions where as long as you keep these outer towers alive for just that little bit longer.
Gremlo is dead. That is just an ensnare into an easy kill. Not level 6 yet, so that untouchable is not yet online.
Ugh. It's unfortunate. I mean, you want your level 6, right? You want to take away that pressure, because without the Rubik being there, and of course Crow will gladly take the mid lane. Crow is the hero that's supposed to take mid there, but it just feels like they're a little bit spread apart. And unfortunately, when the Enchantress lane doesn't go that well, you don't really have space for recovery because your time is more or less over. You're pretty much a ranged creep at this stage who is going to put a little bit of tower pressure on the other side of the map. At the same time, you need someone else to actually finish these towers. As good as the creeps are, it's not enough to do it in a very timely fashion.
Pale Horse doing pretty decent now. I mean, he's at least finding some farm, but no one is even close to where Alone is on this Naga Siren. Like, he is a monster already, just 12 minutes into the game. 6,300 net worth almost as he's closing in on that Manta style. And he's just going to continue to apply pressure in a lot of different lanes. If he's able to play on the bottom half of the map, he can cut a wave every single time on cooldown, and they are not going to be able to deal with it here on the side of Arkosh. Crow does have the Sakuchi, which is one of the best reasons to pick a Rubik here into this Weaver.
I mean, what do you respond here? You need to have Crow nuking in these waves. Unfortunately, if he shows his face and he gets immediately orchided by...
Oh, there it is. Orchid from Jamari. They might just Sonic Wave finish off, but a nice stun in from Monkeys Forever. Canis Volt was able to make it over the arena. Overall, not a terrible fight here for the side of Arkosh if they can get on out, but there's the ensnare.
Oh, no.
Storm Spirit instead will go down, and that is pretty rough. Monkeys Forever going for the charge, wants to get on top of Jamari, but there's the Sonic Wave to cancel it, and Monkeys Forever, he will take down Gardic. Gremlo rotating in, does have enchant, but Jamari, he's so safe on the Queen of Pain. Vitali has the armlet, can toggle on and off. It's going to be Pale Horse cleaning up the mid lane, but 3 for 2, not the worst case for Arkosh, but you got the Storm Spirit and you got the Spirit Breaker, so 2 cores for 2 supports. I mean, you're bleeding too much here, I think.
Yep, you'll take that trade every single day of the week, and unfortunately, they get to make this play every single day of the week. Whenever that arena is up, they get that collapse on mid. There's no good way for Arkosh to reclaim this high ground. They just are a little bit too solidified on the Hokori side. You'd usually see them trying to go for some split push, put pressure on the enemy mid tower of their own, but okay, mid, they could try for this, but this is just a little bit crazy from Monkeys, and they're a little bit scared still. They know that without the Sonic Wave, Jamari doesn't have that much burst damage, and same without the Mars Coliseum, it's a little bit more difficult, but look at how active the Nog is. He's just already in the mid lane, and he knows that there's no one who can contest him here, and with Pale Horse showing in the bottom lane, and without the meta, there's no way this Terrorblade comes over, and they gotta be careful here.
Up by a moment, okay. You know, they do come for the charge, looking for the Disruptor. A lot of damage coming through. Crow, though, caught by the dust. The counter going the other way here as he's going to get glimpsed right back in. Gremlo still standing his ground. No problem at all, but you managed to take down the Rubik. Vitali would be a fantastic kill. Spearbreaker with the DD, but they get the sleep off. They're going to try and turn this one around. Kinetic Field is there. And now Monkeys, he's got the charge. Going to try and turn his attention on over to the Mars. Can he do it? He gets the kill. In comes Kids Velocity. Blows all his mana in the process. G-Pride. Ah, man. Okay. It's Alone. I don't know why I keep saying. I have to pay more attention to his name because it is messed up right now. But Monkeys Forever falling low. Gonna get glimpsed back into the mid lane. Jamari will finish him off. And I'm not sure if you noticed, Jamari still has no boots. He just went straight for an ultimate orb. He's going for a Lincoln's, right?
He's just getting the Lincolns. He's just getting the Lincolns. He just does not care. The blink is how he gets around the map. I mean, he's got 131 last. He really couldn't care.
He finds Rubik with the silence. El Misho there on the backside. Soulburn comes through. Crow.
Nice heal, but
not gonna make it out. Pale Horse. I mean, he knows they've got vision. The Orchid finally revealed here from the Storm Spirit as it will be able to net them a kill onto the Weaver. As he gets sent back to the base. Gremlo at least gets the D ward for his trouble. You know, charge coming through from Monkeys Forever does give them vision over Jamari. I don't see the follow-up.
Is Cancel Wolf is really going to blow everything on the sip here?
He's got to, right? The Sonic Wave, though. And then the Glimpse, of course. They have another ward there, which is nicely done.
It's just so hard. They really need to get vision of Gardic. He keeps on sending back these incredibly long jumps with the Spirit Breaker, and what a deny.
What a deny.
That's just crazy. Versus what? 3 Meta Delusions and an Enchantress right-clicking your tower? I don't know. That's just too good. These South American 5s are just on a completely different level.
Just a god gamer right there, really. 4K gold lead now for Hokori at the 16-minute mark. I mean, they're looking pretty good. They still haven't been able to claim this mid tower, but I feel like it's only a matter of time before the Naga Siren eventually rats this one down. And she is just continuing to farm alone now on his way to his own Orchid, just a few hundred gold away. This is really a phenomenal game for this item.
Yeah, and it just feels so hard for them to actually make a fight, and you're exactly right. Once this Naga Siren gets this Orchid, then how does Canis Vulpus approach these engagements? He's going for his treads right now. BKB is just not a thought in the back of his mind, because really it can't be. He needs to think about other items. He would love to get an item like the Kaya just so he has that much more mana pool to work with, and unfortunately, we're already seeing Arkosh adopt the split push style, but you're split pushing versus a Naga Siren. She will take that, and she will run away with it, and unfortunately, unless really Arkosh can get any decisive team fight going, you're not using the advantage of having this Terrorblade who has the meta, who is stronger than the Naga Siren, at least for now. But once this Orchid is done, all bets are off. If you stay around too long in this fight, you get that song reset, and then you get the setup coming from the Spear that we haven't even seen yet from Vitaly. Without BKBs, there really is very little that Arkosh can do to get that team fight going for them. And I think they're splitting the map to try and catch Hokori TPing back for a lot of their towers, but Hokori are just so disciplined. They're just not going to bite monkeys.
Intro, but you did get the bulldoze off, so doesn't help you against the kinetic field, though. Will go ahead and drop that Nether Strike, but he's definitely dead here behind the towers. Vitaly's going to be able to pick him off.
Okay, I mean, the problem is you use Glyph, so this tower is forfeit, and of course, you are doing a good job on Pale Horse going 50-50, but are you even going 50-50? I don't know if Hokori actually need to give up this top tower, and with the Disruptor hero, Pale Horse can't afford to show because he'll get glimpsed back, and then they'll flood every single TP to make sure that that Terrorblade dies. So now, even more control. Outpost is now going to get claimed by Hokori, and this map is just shrinking incredibly quickly for Arkosh.
Canis does just find an Arcane Rune, though, and this is a really sick pickup for him if he can find some big kills. Like, getting this Disruptor behind the tower is absolutely essential. It will allow them to try and take this one down, but you got to know that these TPs are going to come in mass as soon as you show. Mari finishing up that Lincoln Sphere. You have the Song and the Siren alone also has that Orchid. They just go for it. Holding the Disruptor in place. The Orchid's there, but they don't manage to find the kill quite yet. Canis Vulpus gets glimpsed away, Orchided up. The glimpse actually kind of saving him at the end of this fight. Song of the Siren comes through from alone, but they've managed to get their eyes on the Storm, going for the TP out. Will he make it? He does not. Will be finished off there, and Pale Horse held down, silenced up as Alone and Vitaly just collapse on these two heroes inside the arena. Monkeys Forever will TP home, no way to cancel that, but you get a tower and a Disruptor, but it costs you 3 heroes once again.
I mean, Hokori are just picking their opponents apart, and there was the song setup. They catch the heroes. The Terrorblade already used his Manta to, I believe, dodge out the spear coming in from Vitaly, but Vitaly doesn't need to rush his timing. He didn't even end up spearing the right Terrorblade because Pale Horse did an arguably good job of getting those illusions in front. Unfortunately, the Naga Siren did not miss with the Orchid, and once this Naga Siren gets Scotty, I mean, it's just going to be impossible for Terrorblade to ever show his face. He's going for the BKB now, but you can't help but feel like Arkosh are now going to be playing at least 1 or 2 items behind their opponents, and they just need to create threats across the map to somehow split up the Hokori lineup, but you just can circle where they're playing.
Nice use of the charge in the mid lane as they're able to get on top of the Queen of Pain, but the counter silence puts Canis Vulpus in a terrible spot. Crow getting chased down here by Vitaly. Man, this guy hurts, dude. This armlet build is sick, and Mars will go ahead and pick up that one.
Oh my goodness. And now Monkey's, he's going to get glimpsed if he walks too far, and he just waits for it, and now back in the Static Storm. He does a BKB, though.
Oh my goodness. That is a lot of minus armor into that God's Rebuke, and he's just dead.
Oh my gosh.
That God's Rebuke did like... I mean, what? Like 1,700 damage came out from the Mars there?
Yeah. In a very brief amount of time.
Where's his death summary say? Yeah, that God's Rebuke did 640 physical damage.
Yep. There's the power of the anti-armor. And I mean, you also look at El Misho, who has all this anti-armor. He's got Plate Mail Medallion. He really isn't the target that they can kill with their physical damage, so you need Canis Vulpus to be balling out of control. And Unfortunately, this is the nightmare situation. If the Naga Siren is ever able to set up in your own triangle, you send the illusions to cut the top wave, you send the one illusion to help you farm up the ancients, you already have the mid wave in, so that's not even a thought in the Naga Siren's mind right now, and unfortunately, for Arkosh, they're trying to do the same split push play with Pale Horse, but you're just getting scraps at this point. And look, Vitaly's just even chasing down the illusion, just not letting any entertainment for this Terrorblade to finish off this BKB, which is, albeit only 100 gold off, but at the same time, you're just in such a safer position if you're the Snaga Siren, and with no way to actually dislodge the Snaga, how are you ever going to get a push on the enemy side of the map? You're not really looking for pushes at this point. You're just scrambling to find the items to actually take a team fight.
I mean, you finish it with BKBs, but you get an Eye of Scotty now completed on the Naga Siren, and that just seems so much worse. Gremlo gonna cross paths here with J Marius. He's got a Glimmer TP, so he's gonna be fine.
Yeah, and this is the other benefit of taking control pretty much solely of your enemy team's triangle. There's no way for them to get to the pit now, and it's just way too fast. And now, they're saving the edge for Jamari. Yeah, so now your killable target, the man who has no boots, no BKB, is breaking every rule of Queen of Pain, now has an Aegis and an Arcane Rune, and they still get the glimpse. He had a BKB on Monkeys Forever. Now they cannot fight no matter what.
I think Gremlo goes down in the mid lane. Monkeys Forever gets the charge off. He's gonna make his way all the way bottom. Should be fine. Canis Vulpes here. They don't have vision of him quite yet. He's gonna go for the mid lane here, try and grab this Weaver, but he just runs into a Static Storm, and I think he has the damage. No, El Mijo, he gets the time lapse off. He's gonna have to TP home. Canis Vulpes. They're struggling to find anything here.
Again, I mean, it's still sick from him. You do survive there with the TP, but as soon as that play doesn't work out, Jamari splits off for the bottom wave. You have heroes pushing in mid, and then the Naga splits for top. It just feels like they're playing everywhere. They're playing in all three lanes in Dota, and I'm terrified for Pale Horse, because as soon as they realize that there isn't a TB farming his own jungle, we're in the triangle, he's not sitting on the high ground. I've seen so many teams figure out where carries are when they're just farming their own triangle, and then suddenly you get picked off by that Slong setup. At the very least, Pale Horse has this BKB, but without items like a Daedalus or a Butterfly, I don't know how he ever fights this Naga, and I feel like that's where this Naga might be done giving them any time here. It's nice cut from Canis Vulpes just killing off that creep wave, but as soon as they get Glyph, this really is feeling like the end here.
Jamari just goes in, trying to take down Rubik's Sonic Wave just to guarantee the kill. We'll have the buyback. But again, this Queen of Pain protected by an Aegis. Pale Horse.
Oh, here's a BKB.
That's a yikes. Okay. Well, he's not in the fight. Storm Spirit caught on the backside. Monkey's Bear forced to BKB. Do they have an Orchid? They got a Static Storm, even better. And his Vulpes goes down, and Pale Horse making the walk of shame back to here. The thing is, if you BKBs, they just walk away, right? There's not. It was just a damned if you don't. It's dying back there on the Rubik. Monkeys Forever glimpsed back to the mid lane. The whole team is dying, but Pale Horse, don't worry, he's here. He pops the meta, trying to get on top of Guardian, but he gets saved for the moment, and Pale Horse goes down.
I mean,
you know, sometimes it just all falls apart real fast, and Hokori looking real good.
that's just brutal. That's just horrific. And I mean, you could say he needed a better TP there. He shouldn't have been greedy. He goes in the well. You know, you don't have that threat of getting glimpsed back, but it's really just the cherry on top from a very well executed game. I feel like every member of Hokori were just playing a little bit better than their counterparts on Arkosh. At the same time, I mean, what a sick draft. You somehow get the Naga Siren and the Disruptor versus the Storm Spirit. We only got to see that setup once in that game, but Canis Vulpes just didn't have nearly a good enough game to actually carry himself out of that pit. And I think that's where they keep on picking Canis Vulpes spirits, but with very little setup coming from his side lanes. He had those two fantastic TPs bottom where he gets those 4 kills, but unfortunately, aside from that, everything just went cold so quickly, especially once Jamari got that Orchid. It just felt like he stopped making plays, and then they kind of were already playing into the Naga's ball field, especially once those tier 1 towers were kind of taken already, almost taken too soon, because the Naga just took over your bottom jungle. Your Naga got the Manta style way faster than Pale Horse did, and then just followed up every single item, and then everything really broke down at that mid tier 1 defense where Arkosh were trying just a little bit too much. And unfortunately, they weren't able to find Gardic or El Misho in those engagements, so it's just an impossible team fight. I think maybe they draft some more team fight coming into game 2, but that is rough. just feels hard for Arkosh to win in that game.
Yeah, it is. It's a rough. It's an interesting time. Like, very rarely do you ever see a Queen of Pain just not go boots at all. Like, just decide, yeah, I don't need to walk fast this game. Like, I'll be protected. My team's here, and it was right. Like, J Mari made the call of like, that's just that money will slow down my other really important items this game. Like, mainly that Orchid that he got so early, and then again the Lincoln Sphere, which protected him into the mid game. But Gardic, I mean, a real standout performance from him. He was always ready to protect his heroes with that Static Storm, with the Glimmer Cape that he picked up as well. Like, it was just a sick performance all around from Hokori. They were just they read Arkosh like a book, basically. But we got two games. It is a 2-game series, so we're gonna go to a small break. Everyone, stay tuned for more here. It's gonna be game 2 of Arkosh versus Hokori after just a small break. So we'll see you in a bit.